In the 7th year of my marriage to Wei Xun, I discovered he was keeping a mistress. In a moment of tender affection, he said to that woman, "Get rid of the mother, keep the child." The one to be gotten rid of is Shen Yiluo, the main wife, and the one to be kept is our biological child. Once everything is settled, Ji'er and I will welcome you into the mansion. That woman is an enemy I hate to the bone, and Ji'er is the adopted son I've painstakingly raised. Wei Xun has forgotten that his ability to be appointed Grand General today is all thanks to my strategizing. He dares to humiliate me like this. I have plenty of ways to make him doomed beyond redemption. Back then, at my daddy's funeral, in front of all the guests, Wei Xun knelt down and begged to marry me. He said he could be without heirs, but he couldn't be without Yiluo. He swore to the heavens that he would definitely treat me well and would never take a concubine. Over these years, he has indeed been extremely considerate and respectful towards me. Whether it was the young ladies from noble families chasing after him, or the beautiful maidservants in his manor, he never gave them a second glance. Even our adopted son, Wei Wenji, was brought back from the orphanage to protect me. He was confident that I had met a good man and never doubted him until, while I was praying at Shangyun Temple, a middle-aged woman burst in. She begged me to save her daughter. She said her daughter developed a crush on Wei Xun, angered Wei Xun's sweetheart, and was stripped naked and thrown into a brothel. "Madam, my daughter indeed did wrong, but at least spare her life. In this world, I only have this one child. No matter how bad she is my very life." I was a bit confused. Although my methods are ruthless, that is only for strong enemies on the battlefield. I have never been so malicious towards the gaggle of girls who fancy Wei Xun. I suspected she had the wrong person. To my surprise, she gave me a strange look and said, "It is impossible to be mistaken. General Wei has a residence on Hongshan Street, and my daughter, Chunwan, works there. She said she serves Wei Xun's concubine, and that concubine is the daughter of a disgraced official." Then she told me about Wei Xun's promise to that woman. Her daughter had overheard it while carrying hot water for the pair's bath. Chunwan thought if the daughter of a disgraced official could become Wei Xun's official wife, then even though she was a servant girl, her family background was respectable. So what was wrong with taking a gamble to become a concubine? She took the gamble. Then the concubine had people strip her naked and throw her into a brothel. That concubine bribed the madam to make Chunwan receive at least 10 clients a day. That is why Chunwan's mother took the risk to come and plead before me. After hearing all this, I fell silent. She, an ordinary lower-class woman, couldn't have made up the name Ji'er. What is more, the daughter of a disgraced official. A person came to my mind. I sent the woman home to wait, promising to send her daughter back in 2 days. After the woman left, I arranged for Shuiying to go investigate what was going on. Shuiying is my personal handmaiden. Back when I followed Wei Xun to the battlefield, she was by my side, working for me. Investigating a mistress was no difficulty at all for her. The next day, just as I finished my morning meal, Shuiying brought the information she had found to me. Reading through the information Shuiying brought, my expression grew uglier and uglier. What that woman said was all true. Wei Xun, who cherished me like a treasure, was really keeping a mistress on Hongshan Street. Our adopted son, Wei Wenji, was also really his and that mistress's biological son. The rims of my eyes gradually turned red. My womb was injured, and I cannot bear children. A little over a year after Wei Xun and I married, Wei Xun's clansmen suddenly came to force me to find a concubine for Wei Xun. For my sake. Wei Xun had a huge argument with his clansmen, and to protect me, he brought back an abandoned newborn from the orphanage. He named the baby Wei Wenji, saying that from then on, Wei Wenji would be his, Wei Xun's biological son, and that everything he owned would be inherited by Wei Wenji in the future. After that, Wei Xun's clansmen never came to our door again. These things were all once proof of Wei Xun's love for me. Now, they have all turned into needles, densely piercing my heart. The woman Wei Xun was keeping on Hongshan Street was named Yang Wanfu, If not for the fact that Shui Ying personally investigated and brought this information before my eyes, I would never believe that Wei Xun would fall in love with Yang Wanfu. At the same time, I can accept Wei Xun's mistress being any woman, but I cannot accept her being Yang Wanfu. Miss Shui Ying looked at me, her face full of worry. My hands were trembling. Shui Ying knew how much I hated Yang Wanfu. Back then, when Wei Xun and I returned to the capital after a victorious battle, Yang Wanfu mixed into the crowds lining the streets to welcome us and watch. She fell in love at first sight with Wei Xun, who was on his tall horse. After going back, she wrote Wei Xun a fragrant invitation, asking him to admire the lanterns with her. Wei Xun ignored her. It wasn't until Wei Xun and I were boating on the lake, and she came forward crying and sobbing to question Wei Xun why he didn't keep the appointment, that I learned about this matter. At time, Wei Xun told her that he already had someone he loved, and asked her not to waste her time on him. Yang Wanfu, the only daughter of the Vice Minister of Rights, a delicate young lady who had been pampered and raised in luxury since she was a child. As for me, although my family was noble and respected, I lost my mother at a young age, and with my father engrossed in his official duties, I was left without discipline, living as freely as a blade of wild grass. She couldn't accept her own failure, and even less could she accept that she had actually lost to me. Therefore, half a month later, she bribed some bandits intending to stage a hero saves the beauty scenario. She wanted to force Wei Xun to intervene and then have skin-to-skin contact with him so she could latch onto him. She didn't know that Wei Xun had caught a cold at the time and was even a bit dizzy and unsteady when he walked. I blocked the bandit's long blade for Wei Xun. That stab nearly killed me. I barely made it back from death's door, but because it injured my womb, I could no longer bear children from then on. Wei Xun went crazy. He hated Yang Wanfu to the extreme. He said to raise a child but not teach them is the father's fault. Then, without sleep or rest, he gathered evidence of Vice Minister Yang's crimes and presented it to the emperor, also bribing the censors to impeach him. And in the end, the Yang family was sentenced to have their assets confiscated and be exiled. After doing all this, he grabbed my hand, his eyes red, and said through gritted teeth, "If the Jinyue weren't watching, I'd really want to kill her with my own hands." Wei Xun, as a person, never kills women or children. I believed at the time he must have utterly hated Yang Wanfu. I never in a million years would have thought that he would keep Yang Wanfu as an outside mistress. Calculating the time of Wei Wenji's birth, I had been married to Wei Xun for just over 3 months, and Yang Wanfu's belly already held his flesh and blood. I hate him for betraying me. I hate him even more for betraying me for Yang Wanfu. He was always completely sincere with him, and I thought he was the same towards me. Wei Ying pried open my fingers. In my palm were several bloody crescents, but I felt no pain at all. It is my heart that hurts. I refused to let go of the information Shui Ying had found, and masochistically continued to read on. According to Shui Ying's investigation, at the very beginning, Wei Xun truly hated Yang Wanfu to the extreme. On the day the Yang family was exiled, he disguised himself and followed them. He planned to find a patch of woods and kill Yang Wanfu, but when they reached the woods, before he even had a chance to make his move, he saw Yang Wanfu being dragged deep into the forest by several of the escorting bailiffs to have their way with her. Wei Xun could kill her to avenge me, but he couldn't bear to watch a woman suffer such humiliation. So he stepped in to help her. After that, he was worried that without his protection, Yang Wanfu would be humiliated again, so he simply accompanied them all the way, escorting the Yang family to the place of exile. After arriving at the place, he learned that a beautiful noble lady from the capital like Yang Wanfu, in a place like this, was just a meal on a plate for men. So he paid a large sum of money to the local authorities and bought Yang Wanfu. He brought Yang Wanfu back to the capital and settled her on Hongshan Street. He left a sum of money and told Yang Wanfu to fend for herself. But Yang Wanfu had long since seen through his disguise and recognized him as Wei Xun. She feigned illness to make Wei Xun stay, and then drugged him, making him have sex with her. It was that very night that Yang Wanfu became pregnant. My heart felt as if it were being cut by a knife. That was when Wei Xun and I had just been married for 2 months. He sent back a letter saying he was going to track a wanted criminal, and, just like that, he was gone for more than a month. I was at home, worried sick for him for more than a month, only to find out now that he wasn't going to capture some wanted criminal at all, but went to protect my enemy instead. Yang Wanfu was in poor health, and after getting pregnant, her life was in danger several times. Wei Xun could only continue to look after her. Looking after her, he caught feelings for her. Looking after her, he lost his own heart. Wei Xun had originally given her an ultimatum, that as soon as the child was born, he would send her away from the capital, and they'd never see each other again. But when Yang Wanfu gave birth to a precious son, he changed his tune, ordering Yang Wanfu not to appear before me, and ordering her not to ask for a formal title. Now, he is telling Yang Wanfu that he is going to get rid of the mother to keep the child. Get rid of me, the head wife, and keep her, Yang Wanfu's son. Wei Xun was never one to make baseless claims. When he said, "Wait until everything is settled," I am afraid he had already started his scheme to get rid of the mother and keep the child. The pain in my heart didn't make me lose my mind. On the contrary, it made my head even clearer. Wei Xun is indebted to me. My late father's students hold no small status both in and out of court, and Wei Xun needs their patronage. Therefore, Wei Xun would absolutely never divorce me or agree to a mutual separation. With my hands trembling, I instructed Shui Ying, "Take my card and go quietly to Huichun Hall to ask Divine Dr. Zhang to come." Soon Shui Ying brought Divine Dr. Zhang. After taking her pulse, Divine Dr. Zhang said with a grave expression, "Madam is afflicted with 1,000-day joy." "What is 1,000-day joy?" Shui Ying asked in surprise. Divine Dr. Zhang said, 1,000-day joy isn't really considered a poison. It is actually a fine medicine. For those melancholic patients, if their medicine is taken with Qianri Huan, it will work faster. But for a healthy person, if they take this medicine day, after 1,000 days, they will go mad and die. Who is so scheming as to give Madam this drug? If I hadn't encountered a patient driven mad by 1,000-day bliss many years ago, I wouldn't have been able to tell that Madam was poisoned today. How long has my lady been taking the drug? How do you cure this 1,000-day bliss? Shui Ying was so anxious the rims of her eyes turned red. Miracle Dr. Zhang said, judging from her pulse, Madam probably started taking 1,000-day bliss about a year ago. This 1,000-day bliss is not a poison. It doesn't need an antidote. She just needs to stop taking it from now on. After seeing off Miracle Dr. Zhang, Shui Ying said through gritted teeth, "The general is truly a heartless brute, even if he has no feelings for you anymore, miss. Doesn't he remember your kindness to him?" I smiled bitterly and shook my head. Compared to Shui Ying's shock, I absurdly felt a sense of as expected. I know Wei Xun all too well. He has always been this kind of person. When he loved me, to avenge me. He went to great lengths to have the Yang family's assets seized and have them exiled. When he loved Yang Wanfu, in order to make way for her as the main wife, he tried to kill me. But he forgot that Wei Xun, was only able to achieve what he has today because he relied on the strategies I planned for him. Back then, he was just a minor vanguard at the front. If I hadn't disguised myself as a military doctor and devised strategies for him, how could he have continuously earned military merits and risen through the ranks? Even later, after returning to the capital, I took a stab from a bandit that injured my womb, and I took that stab to save him, Wei Xun. If he doesn't love me anymore, he could have divorced me. He absolutely shouldn't have plotted against me and sent me to my death. He betrayed my love, and what is more, betrayed the trust I had in him. The deep love and affection between us has now all turned into molten iron and strong acid, splashing down on my head and face. Besides the pain, what is more is the disgust. He also forgot I am the type of person who seeks revenge for the smallest slight back. Then on the battlefield, the enemy sent men to trample our people's wheat seedlings, so I set fire to their granaries. Know that I know the truth. Of course I won't let this bastard and bitch go. The spring rain drizzled down, and in the courtyard, the flower stumps planted last year were scrambling over each other to sprout new buds, full of life. I stared at that flower stump for a long while. A servant came to report that General Wei is busy with official duties today and won't be coming back. For the past year, he has always been using official business as an excuse to stay out overnight. Previously, I was worried he would ruin his health working late at the yamen, so I had the kitchen prepare nourishing soup for him every day. Now, I know that he has been staying overnight on Hongshan Street. He loves Yang Wanfu more and more. When Yang Wanfu gets jealous with him, he promises Yang Wanfu he will never touch me again. He finds all sorts of excuses to brush me. They had their romantic trysts in places I couldn't see. They were desperately intertwined in the mansion on Hongshan Street. Wei Xun's heartlessness was even more detestable than the still chilly warmth of early spring. I hummed and made up my mind. I went to the kitchen to simmer a bowl of sweet soup, and personally carried it to Looming Courtyard. When I arrived, Wei Wenji was practicing writing characters from memory. He is 6 years old this year, has already formally started his schooling. The teacher at the academy praises him for being intelligent and eager to learn, but they don't know. From when he was 3, I was the one laying his foundation, putting in a great deal of effort. In front of Wei Wenji, Wei Xun and I are a kind father and a strict mother. Therefore, compared to me, Wei Wenji is closer to Wei Xun. Seeing me come in, Wei Wenji straightened his back and practiced writing from memory even more seriously. "Ji'er, your daddy isn't coming home again tonight." "Mom, Dad is busy with his work, don't be mad at him." The spring rain has brought another cold spell. "Ji'er, rest well after you are done practicing your writing. I am going to the government office to bring your dad a thick cloak." "Mom, you don't have to trouble yourself. I heard Dad say last time that his thick cloak for when he is on duty is at the government office and he hasn't brought it back." "All right, then I won't go." Wei Wenji visibly breathed a sigh of relief. The corner of my mouth curled into a cold smile. Wei Xun has a total of 6 thick cloaks. I've counted them, and they are all at home. Wei Wenji is covering for his dad. Evidently, he isn't completely unaware of the matter between Wei Xun and Yang Wanfu. In the past 2 years, he hasn't been very close to me. Probably not because I am strict with him, but because he found out that his birth mother is Yang Wanfu. I brought the sweet soup to Wei Wenji's side. "Drink your sweet soup, then get back to writing." When Wei Wenji was brought to me, his body was frail, so I tried all sorts of ways to nourish his body. He knew I put good nourishing ingredients in the food I gave him, and was used to me making special meals for him, so he didn't suspect a thing, took the sweet soup and drank it clean. I turned and left. I didn't sleep well all night. I dreamed that when I was young, I was laughing and talking with Wei Xun under an osmanthus tree. Osmanthus flowers were rustling down, when my smiling lover suddenly became ferocious and drew his sword to kill me. In the dream, Wei Xun yelled at me, "If you are truly virtuous, then you should make way for Wanfu." When I woke up, my back was covered in a thin layer of sweat. It was already dawning outside. I called Shui Ying to light a lamp, and had just finished changing my clothes when the sound of hurried footsteps came from outside the door. The room door creaked open, and Wei Xun walked in. He was a bit surprised to see me awake, but he quickly composed himself and said to me, "Fei Luo, I finished my work and slept for a bit at the yamen, thinking I'd come back to change clothes before the morning court session. To see you, I haven't seen you for a day. I missed you, Fei, busy day and night. I thought it was because you didn't want to see me," I said coldly. Wei Xun sized me up suspiciously. "Yai Luo, are you mad? Shouldn't I be angry?" Wei Xun put on a fawning expression to coax me. "Yai Luo, I was wrong. Once I am past this busy period, I'll definitely make time to be with you properly." I gave a cold snort and said nothing. He turned and asked Shui Ying, "The wellness soup the kitchen makes for Madam, does she usually drink it properly?" That 1,000-day bliss was put into the wellness soup that Wei Xun had instructed the kitchen to make. As the general instructed, Madam drinks it every day, not missing a single one. Shui Ying said, Wei Xun didn't notice the mockery in Shui Ying's eyes and showed a satisfied expression. Yai, Luo, that stab you took for me back then. The wound was too severe. You must recuperate well. Only then can I rest assured. Enough talk. I am heading out for the morning court. After saying this, he couldn't wait to walk out. Just then, the head maidservant attending to Wei Wenji came to report with a panicked look on her face. General, madam, this is bad. The young master has suddenly developed a high fever, and he won't wake up no matter how we call him. Wei Xun immediately strode towards Looming Courtyard. I lifted my foot and followed. Looming Courtyard was brightly lit. The maids and old nannies attending to Wei Wenji were guarding his bed, not daring to breathe too loudly, afraid that they would be blamed. Go get Physician Zhou, Wei Xun instructed the maidservant standing by the door. Then he also had a young servant take his seal to ask for a leave of absence on his behalf soon. Physician Zhou arrived. He observed, listened, inquired, and took the pulse, and finally shook his head, saying, "The pulse doesn't reveal the cause. Let's reduce the fever first." Of course he couldn't tell. The poison in the sweet soup was a Gu insect, given to me by a Miao holy maiden who had drifted to the northern lands when Wei Xun and I were fighting in the northern frontier. Let alone him, even if divine Dr. Zhang came, he wouldn't be able to figure out what is wrong. Physician Zhou of the manor prescribed medicine, had a maidservant brew it, and poured it down Wei Wenji's throat. A few hours later, Wei Wenji's body temperature returned to normal, but he still didn't wake up. I am afraid he has offended something, Physician Zhou said, sweating. Wei Xun then hurriedly went to invite other doctors, even using his connections to get an imperial physician from the palace. Every single one of them shook their heads, just like Physician Zhou. After seeing everyone off, Wei Xun looked at Wei Wenji, then turned to look at me, a probing look in his eyes. Ji'er was perfectly fine. How did he suddenly become like this? I sneered. Maybe I was the one who poisoned Ji'er. Wei Xun's expression turned ugly, and he said in a dry tone, "Yiluo, Ji'er calls you mother. No matter what, you wouldn't poison a child, would you? If you don't think I am a venomous woman, then why ask me that?" I looked at him sharply. Or do you think I usually treat him poorly and look like I want to harm him? Of course not. I was just worried about Ji'er and asked casually, "Yiluo, you've misunderstood me." Wei Xun's tone softened. I said, "Physician Zhou from the residence said Ji'er has offended something supernatural, but our general's mansion is clean as a whistle, and Ji'er just goes back and forth between the mansion and the academy every day. What could he have offended? I am afraid it is because his birth parents are full of evil, and Ji'er is suffering for his parents' sins." My words made Wei Xun's face turn ashen. Tomorrow, I will go to Shangyun Temple to pray for Ji'er's well-being. I intentionally sighed to him. Monk Hanyun of Shangyun Temple has superb medical skills and has cured many strange illnesses. Unfortunately, we have a grudge against him, so he probably wouldn't be willing to diagnose Ji'er. Which Hanyun? Wei Xun asked me. I curled the corner of my mouth. You've forgotten. Vice Minister Yang had a good classmate back then named Zhong Shu. After Zhong Shu's wife and child died unexpectedly, he couldn't take the blow and became a monk. Monk Hanyun of Shangyun Temple is Zhong Shu. You caused the Yang family's assets to be confiscated and for them to be exiled. So how could Hanyun possibly be willing to save your adopted son? Upon hearing this, Wei Xun seemed to be lost in thought. After a short while, Wei Xun left the mansion under the pretext of searching for a famous doctor. I gave a little smile. Wei Wenji is the biological son of Wei Xun and Yang Wanfu. Of course they would want to save him. Later on, Shuang told me that Wei Xun had ordered someone to prepare a horse-drawn carriage, as he was going to take Yang Wanfu to Shangyun Temple tomorrow. My lady said she is going to Shangyun Temple tomorrow to pray for blessings, yet he is not afraid to bring someone along and be seen by my lady. They've been together for almost 7 years, and I never once suspected. So naturally, their guts have grown fat. On the second day, I spent a hefty sum to invite the abbot of Shangyun Temple to preach about Buddhism. In the meditation room, just a wall away, sat Yang Wanfu and Wei Xun. Shuiying, timing it perfectly, burst in and said frantically, "Miss, this servant saw the young master with a woman." My expression changed drastically. I apologized to the abbot, then got up and walked out. I burst into the meditation room, and Wei Xun and Yang Wanfu were aghast. In their eyes, I was praying for Wei Wenji's well-being and should have been in the main hall, not showing up in a meditation room. Wei Xun felt a little guilty, but Yang Wanfu looked so wronged that her eyes were red-rimmed, so he suddenly found his courage and stood protectively in front of her. He couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Shen Yiluo, Wei Xun began to speak. He probably felt that since things had come to this, it was better to just have a showdown, but before he could say anything, someone appeared and interrupted him. "What is going on here?" Madame Chen, bringing people with her, stepped inside, frowning at Wei Xun. Madame Chen's husband was a current imperial censor and was once my father's student. If Wei Xun dared to have a showdown today, a memorial impeaching him would be on the emperor's desk tomorrow. And so, the courage he had just mustered vanished in an instant. After his mind raced, he said, "Yiluo, it is not what you think. She is now Zhongqing's person. Yesterday you said Master Hanyan might be able to save Ji'er, so I begged Zhongqing and asked her to put in a good word for us with Master Hanyan. Is that so?" I stared hard at Yang Wanfu. Yang Wanfu had no choice but to nod. "Yes. So Lord Zhang let his own mistress meet with you alone in private." "Of course not. Zhang Qing is also at Shangyun Temple. He is the one who brought Miss Yang here." Madame Chen said, "Since Lord Zhang is also here, whether it is true or false, we'll know just by calling the person over to ask." Zhang Qing was indeed at Shangyun Temple, and was quickly called over. Madame Chen asked Zhang Qing, "Is Yang Wanfu really your person?" Zhang Qing glanced at Wei Xun, then smiled embarrassedly at me and Madame Chen. "I am ashamed. I am ashamed." A hint of smugness flashed in Wei Xun's eyes. He and Zhang Qing have no friendship on the surface. He thought I didn't know. Last year Zhang Qing got drunk and said the wrong thing in front of the fifth prince. It was he who helped cover it up. He is a benefactor to Zhang Qing. Zhang Qing's reputation has always been bad. It is just a mistress. Claiming her for his benefactor is not a difficult matter. But he doesn't know. Zhang Qing's fiancé Shi Luan's hometown is in Luzhou, living next door to my maternal grandparents' home, and before I was 10 I played with Shi Luan almost every day. Zhang Qing's appearance at Shangyun Temple today was also my doing. I gave a light cough, and Shi Luan walked out from behind Madame Chen. She looked at Zhang Qing in disappointment and said, "Young Master Zhang, you told me before that you'd completely broken off with all those other women outside. I believed you, but only today did I realize you were lying to me all along. You said you adored me, but it turns out you were just saying it without meaning it. Since that is the case, let's just call off our engagement." Zhang Qing was instantly dumbfounded. He hurriedly explained, "Aluand, don't overthink this. I didn't lie to you. I really have broken it off cleanly with everyone." "Then what about her? How do you explain her?" Shi Luan said, pointing her finger at Yang Wanfu. "Just now, you admitted with your own mouth that she is your kept woman." As she spoke, she pulled the wooden hairpin from her hair and threw it on the ground. "Take your thing back. I am going back to Luzhou tomorrow. From now on, we're through." Zhang Qing picked up the wooden hairpin, which looked hand-carved at a glance, and frantically tried to stuff it back into Shi Luan's hand. Seeing that Shi Luan refused to take it and looked like she was about to storm off, he immediately gritted his teeth and said, "When did I ever say she was my kept woman?" My answer to Madame Chen and Madame Shen meant that I brought her here. But there is nothing between her and me. Shi Luan raised her eyes to look at Zhang Qing. Zhang Qing felt encouraged, and the words started flowing more and more smoothly from his mouth. "She is actually a Qing Guanren from the Zhuhong Pavilion. You know, I like poetry. Before I met you, I used to see her at the Zhuhong Pavilion and we'd discuss poetry and prose together. But I promise I have nothing to do with her. She is a Qing Guanren from Zhuhong Lu who has always sold her art, not her body." General Wei is deeply devoted to Madame Shen, has never been to a place like Zhuhong Lu, and doesn't know about this matter. I heard that General Wei was going to ask the Yang family for help, so I thought of her. So I went and brought the person here. Really? Shiluan raised an eyebrow. Zhongqing held up 3 fingers. Aluan, trust me, I've really changed. Jiluan let him off and turned to ask Yang Wanfu, Are you really an untouched courtesan from the Ju Honglu? Yang Wanfu was so aggrieved the rims of her eyes turned red. She glanced at me and said in a frail and weak voice, Miss Shi, it was not my wish to end up in a brothel. I, too, was once the precious daughter of an official's family. If I weren't still pure, how could I have shamefully lived on until now? So Miss Yang possesses the quality of emerging from the mud unstained. I sneered. In that case, let's have someone come check Miss Yang's pulse, so Aluan can rest easy. Yiluo, you are joking. This is Xiangyun Temple. To have the temple's doctor determine if Yang Wanfu is still a virgin would be far too disrespectful, Wei Xun said dryly. Naturally, there is no need to trouble the temple doctor. I took the hand of a lady beside Madame Chen, and introduced, This is Madame Li. Before she was married, she was a female physician in Her Majesty the Empress's palace. As for whether Yang Wanfu is a virgin, she'll know with a single examination. Wei Xun's face was livid. You were prepared for this. My tone was light. Everyone knows the abbot of Xiangyun Temple is profound in Buddhist teachings, and it is a rare opportunity to hear him lecture on the scriptures. Today was originally Lady Chen bringing the other ladies to listen to the abbot's sermon. When she heard I wanted to pray for Ji'er's well-being, she kindly added a prayer cushion for me. These ladies were all carefully selected by me. Besides Shiluan, Lady Chen, and Lady Li, the remaining 3 are the most famous gossips in the capital. When I found out Wei Xun had betrayed me, I went to Lady Chen and Shiluan for help. I didn't need to worry about the rest. They would take care of it for me. With the situation having come to this point, there was nothing Wei Xun could do. A maidservant came forward and dragged the unwilling Yang Wanfu before Lady Li. Soon, Lady Li sneered, and she still pretends to be a pure courtesan, just to cheat those rich, foolish suckers. Jiluan was furious, lunging forward to slap Yang Wanfu, the daughter of a convicted official. Now nothing but a cheap whore ridden by 10,000 men, and you dare to feign integrity in front of this young lady, conspiring with my fiancé to deceive me. The surrounding ladies also began to gossip and point. Lord Zhang, what is so good about a woman like that? Why must you, for her sake, throw away your marriage with Miss Shi? But recently we really haven't heard of Lord Zhang being involved with anyone. Perhaps he really has changed and isn't lying. That Lord Zhang was deceived by this woman. That Yang Wanfu. Honestly, she is from a scholarly family, after all, the legitimate daughter of the Vice Minister of Rights, and used to be so proud, yet she actually allowed herself to sink to this level. She is shaming her ancestors in their graves. Zhongqing was being grabbed and interrogated by Shiluan, while Yang Wanfu was being ganged up on by a group of ladies. Wei Xun was so anxious the corners of his eyes turned red, but he could only endure it in silence and not act. I looked at him, smiled, and said, Good thing you never go to brothels. Otherwise, today you couldn't talk your way out of this, even with 10 mouths. For this kind of filthy trash, you've always been the type to feel that even a single glance would dirty your eyes. So she has fallen to that kind of place. Back then you said you'd kill her with your own hands to avenge me, but now it seems she is getting her own retribution. There is no need for you to do it. After a lot of hassle, Monk Hanyan was finally invited back to the general's manor by Wei Xun. Unfortunately, he also didn't know about goo poison. One thing that made him a little better than other doctors was, besides writing prescriptions, he could also chant scriptures. Wei Wenji still hadn't woken up. The rims of Wei Xun's eyes were red, and he was also struggling to maintain his pretense towards me, becoming a bit impatient. Back when we were at the Northwestern military camp, his patience was never as good as mine. I tucked in the corner of the quilt for Wei Wenji, then suddenly looked up at him and said, If I'd known Monk Henyan was so useless, you shouldn't have gone to beg Yang Wanfu, needlessly causing Lord Zhang to get implicated. Xun didn't say anything. I continued, A prostitute's reputation is ruined for life once she is associated with a brothel. Wei Xun's face was ashen. Yai Luo, you've always been the kindest. Yang Wanfu wronged you, but she is already in this state, so why bother taunting her? She was in the wrong back then, but she is not a bad person at heart. A Xun. I let out a laugh. Who told you I was kind? I've never been kind. I hold a grudge over the slightest offense. Wei Xun looked at me, his face full of disappointment. I added, what does my little bit of mockery count for? Words are like wind blades and frost swords, and there is much more suffering waiting for her. Wei Xun was speechless. He flicked his sleeves and left, and went to Hongshan Street again. In the residence on Hongshan Street, Yang Wanfu was crying and trying to hang herself. After being rescued by Wei Xun, she cried and collapsed softly into Wei Xun's arms. It must be Shen Yiluo plotting against me. Wei Xun said hesitantly, I don't think so. Shen Yiluo didn't know you existed before. The incident at Shangshan Temple was just a coincidence. Yang Wanfu pushed Wei Xun away. Can't you see that she was in charge of everything yesterday at Shangshan Temple? She already hated you, so in that situation it is very normal for her to target you. Besides, if she knew you were my mistress with her personality, how could she possibly spare me? Yang Wanfu was furious. Wei Xun, you are defending her at every turn. Do you still have feelings for her? You said you loved me. Was it all a lie? She said with a sorrowful expression, You have no idea. Now everyone outside is saying that the daughter of the Vice Minister of Rights is shameless, and those shameless men who weren't even worthy to carry my shoes before are now bragging to everyone that they patronized me at the Red Chamber. Since you don't love me, I might as well be dead. Wei Xun quickly hugged her and coaxed her. I know best what kind of person you are. I will never believe the rumors outside. My heart for you, heaven and earth can witness. The reason I haven't fallen out with her is, 1, because I am indebted to her, and 2, because her father still has students who are officials in the court. I was thinking of taking my time with it to prevent her from trying to take me down with her. Now that she has hurt you, I will not spare her. Ji'er is unconscious and not waking up. He also needs you, his birth mother, to take care of him. Yang Wanfu smiled through her tears. As I listened to Shui Ying's report, I couldn't help but give a cold smile. When Wei Xun came back, he brought me preserved fruit from East Street. In my childhood, I stayed at my maternal grandparents' home in Luzhou. My tastes followed theirs, and I don't like to eat sweets. But 7 years ago, I was stabbed, had to drink bitter medicine day after day, and really couldn't get it down. So Wei Xun would bring me a pack of preserved fruit every day. Later on, I didn't need to drink the medicine anymore, but the habit of eating 2 pieces of preserved fruit every day stuck. Wei Xun bringing me preserved fruits means he wants to make up with me. I smiled at him and said, there has been a breakthrough with Ji'er's illness. Divine Dr. Zhang has a junior apprentice brother who has traveled far and wide and is very knowledgeable. He says it is soul separation sickness. He is confident he can cure Ji'er and has prescribed a prescription. We have to feed him medicine worth 20 taels of silver every day, and in 1 or 2 months he'll be able to wake up. Wei Xun was overjoyed. Money isn't important. As long as he can wake up, that is all that matters. Wei Wenji is his only child and is extremely important in his heart. Yeah, money isn't important. I thought about my own scheme, repeating his words. By the evening of the next day, Shiluan brought me some news. Her father is from the Ministry of Justice. He said that a band of thieves has recently appeared in the capital, committing burglaries and having several murders on their hands. Today, they traced them to a shopkeeper, Shu, who fences their stolen goods, and discovered that Wei Xun was actually in contact with shopkeeper Shu. Her father knows Wei Xun is my husband, so he suppressed the matter and had her come ask me what was going on. I had a sudden realization. So it turns out he wanted to hire someone to kill me, for someone who is a general. His scheme is surprisingly so crude. I told Shiluan about Wei Xun and Yang Wanfu's plan. Shiluan sneered. That heartless man is truly cruel and ungrateful. It wouldn't be going too far even if you threw him into a wok of boiling oil. Yiluo, What do you want to do? Of course Yiluo was trustworthy. I wouldn't lose my trust in all my friends because of one unfaithful man, therefore. I told Yiluo my plan, then I said, Wei Xun let me down. I am emptying out the Wei family. Consider it collecting my interest from him. I was originally going to have the people from the Shen family's estate do this. But since he is hiring a killer now, I wonder if Uncle Shi could lend me a few of his loyal men. Yiluo smiled and said, Back then in Luzhou, if it weren't for you, Shiming and I would have drowned. My dad is grateful for your kindness. For this matter, he will definitely cooperate with you. Yiluo left in a hurry. After dinner, 10 tall and sturdy men with light steps put on servants' clothes and hid in every corner of Qinghuan Courtyard, where I live. After waiting for 2 days, I received a message from Yiluo. I then knew that Wei Xun had already made a deal with the bandits, and they were going to make their move soon. That day, Wei Xun suddenly said there was an urgent matter at the yamen, and he had to go. Before he left, when he looked at me, it was as if a venomous snake was hiding in the depths of his eyes, flicking its tongue. I smiled as I saw him off. That night, a big incident happened at the general's mansion, but the servants were snoring like thunder. I was in Qinghuan Courtyard, drinking tea all night. The next morning, the servant who woke up went scrambling and crawling all the way to the government office to report the case. Wei Xun rushed back hurriedly, his face filled with grief. Yiluo, you have to be okay. He started wailing while still outside the main gate. When he saw me sitting perfectly fine in Qinghuan Courtyard, his wailing came to an abrupt stop, like a chicken being choked by the neck. I am fine. Are you disappointed? I looked at him. Wei Xun froze on the spot, panic flashing across his face. Finally, he said calmly, How could that be? Nothing would be better than you being fine, Yiluo. I gave him a meaningful look and said with regret, I don't know how, but everyone slept like the dead last night. It is a good thing no one was hurt, but all the valuables in the residence have been cleaned out. Wei Xun, I stretched out a hand, holding it open in front of Wei Xun. Wei Xun didn't understand. What for? I said self-righteously. For money, of course. Ji'er's medicine costs 20 taels of silver a day. There is the food and drink for so many people in the residence. In a few days it is the Buddha's birthday, and there are social obligations with the other manors. Which of these doesn't require silver to take care of? Aren't there still the shops and estates? Ji'er is so seriously ill. I heard there is a divine doctor valley in Zhangyan, so 2 days ago I mortgaged all the residence's shops and estates, planning to take Ji'er there to seek treatment. But before I even had a chance to tell you, divine Dr. Zhang's junior brother happened to return to the capital. The shops and estates haven't been redeemed yet, and the mortgage documents were stolen by the thieves. Your dowry, he started hesitantly. What makes you think that after the bandits cleaned out all the valuables in the residence, they would have specifically left my dowry behind? You don't have any money on you either. If not, I'll go out and borrow some. Once the Ministry of Justice learns my general's mansion is this destitute, they will definitely intensify their efforts to apprehend the thieves, and then all our wealth will be returned. Upon hearing these words, Wei Xun immediately untied the money pouch from his waist and gave it to me. He was both afraid that I would go out to borrow money and make him lose face, and afraid that the investigation into the thieves would lead back to him. In the days that followed, whenever Wei Xun returned to the mansion, I would ask him for money. The day his salary was due was still far off. How much money could he possibly have on him? I held the severely ill and still unconscious Wei Wenji as leverage, so Wei Xun had no choice but to give me money. Therefore, he continuously took money from Yang Wanfu. Yang Wanfu was originally unwilling, but she was the one who had introduced that band of thieves to Wei Xun. Yang Wanfu had long ago made contact with Vice Minister Yang at his place of exile, and Wei Xun had promised her that once he was done with me and Yang Wanfu became the mistress of the general's mansion, he would find a way to bring the Yang family back. One of the men in that band of thieves was someone Vice Minister Yang had met in his place of exile. Seeing that Wei Xun had agreed to make a move against me, Yang Wanfu immediately recommended him. Now the thieves had taken Wei Xun's commission, but not only did they not kill me, They also took all the valuables from the general's mansion. What was the difference between this and letting a wolf into the house? During this period, Yang Wanfu felt a bit of a guilty conscience when facing Wei Xun. She had no choice but to take out the money and valuables that Wei Xun had previously gifted her one by one to give to Wei Xun to support the household. If she was willing to give, I would no longer hold back, asking for more and more. Gradually, Yang Wanfu couldn't take it anymore, and on top of that, romantic scandals about her in the capital were increasing. At first they were with dandies, but later even street vendors and footmen got involved, and Yang Wanfu was extremely embarrassed by this. She was bitter inside, so she and Wei Xun got into more and more arguments. I've moved all the wealth from the general's mansion to the Shen family's old residence, while the band of bandits arranged by Wei Xun and Yang Wanfu are currently also being held by Uncle Shi. Me plan is, once I've cleaned out the money from Yang Wanfu's hands, to have Uncle Shi bring that gang of bandits to court and expose Wei Xun's ugly face to the public. After completely ruining Wei Xun's reputation, I would then ask him for a divorce. However, before I could make a move, things took a new turn. Yang Wanfu didn't have much cash on hand either, so Wei Xun started selling off her jewelry. Wei Xun worried about money every day, and at Hongshan Street he'd get a headache from Yang Wanfu's crying and fussing. He wore a weary face every day, looking extremely haggard. Just then, the imperial court decided to completely solve the Japanese pirate problem on the southeastern coast, but was undecided on who to send on the expedition. The soldiers and officers of the Dayan dynasty were not skilled at naval warfare, so no one dared to be the one to stick their neck out. Wei Xun was in the imperial court, and it wasn't clear if he was spacing out, or dozing off from not having rested well. Someone called his name, and he just stood out and accepted it. By the time he realized what had happened, the matter had already been decided. He had no room to back out. Just like with this matter of Yang Wanfu, from the moment he first escorted the Yang family to their place of exile, he had already drawn the bow, and there was no turning back. Wei Xun had achieved illustrious military merits in the Northwest back then, and could be considered a famous general of Dayan But. He was the only son of the Wei family for 3 generations, so the emperor never considered sending him to fight the Japanese pirates. Now that he had volunteered for it himself, the emperor was endlessly grateful and bestowed generous rewards upon him. Wei Xun secretly hid more than half of the reward and sent it to Hongshan Street, handing the rest to me. He played the emotional card with me. Yiluo, we have been married for over 7 years, and our relationship has always been very good. Though we might have had some friction recently, that was just bickering in my heart. I love you as much as I did at the start. You can't have children, and I've never held it against you. Although Ji'er is an adopted son, the rest of our lives depends entirely on him. Once I leave, I don't know when I'll be back. You should then lock up the house and take good care of Ji'er. I hope that by the time I return, Ji'er will already be all better. At the same time, he didn't forget to make me an empty promise. Yiluo, you wait. When I come back after winning a battle, I will definitely ask for a title of nobility for you in the Jinluan Hall. I nodded. Leave the matters at home to me, you can rest assured. Wei Xun, seeing that I had agreed, immediately said he still had official business to hand over and turn to leave. He couldn't wait to go to Hongshan Street. There is someone there he'd rather be with. The next morning, Shui Ying told me that Wei Xun had spent a passionate night with Yang Wanfu on Hongshan Street. He promised Yang Wanfu that he would definitely charge forward bravely and kill all the Japanese pirates. When that time comes and he has achieved military merit, he would use it to ask the emperor to pardon the Yang family's crimes, bring Minister Yang and the others back to Shengjing, and then he would marry her and bring her into his home in grand style, in their vision for the future. I, the proper and official matriarch of the house, was already as good as dead. I sneered endlessly. Wei Xun forgot. He had never fought a naval battle. He also forgot that this was the first time he was going on a campaign without me, his female Zuga, by his side, achieve military merit. I reckon he'll either become a deserter or leave his life in the sea. I went over to the Shi residence to pay a visit to Uncle Shi. Although he was from the Ministry of Punishments, He held a high official position, so he could also meddle a bit in the affairs of the Ministry of War. I requested that he arrange a supervising official for the army on this expedition. When Wei Xun goes this time, he either achieves military merit or dies there. He absolutely cannot become a deserter. If he achieves military merit, I will have those pirates expose Wei Xun. Let Wei Xun be cursed by thousands, and then divorce him. If he dies there, I will be the widow of a loyal martyr, and the honor of the general's manor will be inherited by me from then on. I no longer have my parents for protection, and the world is harsh on women. For me, a divorce is the worst option. Wei Xun dying in battle is the best option. On the 23rd of the 5th month, Wei Xun's army set out. I went to the city gates and watched him leave. His back was straight and tall, his posture just like when we returned to the capital in triumph. These 7 or 8 years haven't left a single trace on him. But as for me, I am already riddled with 1,000 holes. A man's infatuation can still be shed. A woman's infatuation cannot be shed. Men and women are just different to begin with. After Wei Xun left, I returned to the general's mansion, rummaged through Wei Xun's study, and found the deed to the residence on Hongshan Street. Yang Wanfu was not of good status. She couldn't own property under her name. Therefore, the name on the deed was Wei Xun's C, invited the censor's wife, Madame Chen, brought some people along, and went to Hongshan Street in a grand procession. Yang Wanfu had also gone to see Wei Xun off, and by the time she returned, we were already sitting in the courtyard drinking tea. I told her, "This house is Wei Xun's, and she is able to live here probably because Wei Xun is doing Lord Zhang a favor. But Yiluo is my sworn sister. I can't just watch Lord Zhang make a mistake and betray Yiluo. So I am going to take the house back." Yang Wanfu's eyes reddened with anger, but in front of the censor's wife, for Wei Xun's sake, she ultimately didn't dare to speak plainly, didn't dare say she wasn't a prostitute, didn't dare say she had nothing to do with Zhongqing, didn't dare say this house was bought by Wei Xun for her to live in a beauty and tears is a soul-stirring sight, but the one who could be the hero and save the beauty is no longer here. Stared at by numerous eyes, Yang Wanfu packed a small bundle and was kicked out of the mansion, looking extremely wretched. The gold, silver, pearls, jewelry, and clothes that Wei Xun had bought for her, and the rewards from the palace he secretly sent, she couldn't take a single thing. I felt truly delighted. So I invited Madame Chen to Lu for dinner, and we had 2 cups of light wine. After coming out of Lu and seeing Madame Chen onto her carriage, I looked at my own carriage and said to Shui Ying, "Let's take a walk, get some air." The May wind was already a bit warm, reminding me of the day I married Wei Xun that day. He had been made to drink a lot of wine, and under the glow of the red candles, the look in his eyes as he gazed at me was sparkling, filled with the joy of marrying me. He did love me. It is just that. He then fell in love with Yang Wanfu. Even now, I still can't understand how a person's heart can change so quickly, how just because he fell for someone else, he could wish for his own original wife to die. But it is okay if I can't understand it. I have the means to protect myself. The one who did wrong is not me, and the one who is going to die is not me either. Shui Ying stayed by my side, reporting to me in a low voice. After Yang Wanfu left Hongshan Street, she went to pawn the bracelet on her wrist. When she came out of the pawn shop, a little beggar pounced and hugged her leg. She disgustedly kicked him away, then used a rock to smash open the little beggar's head. She told the patrolling officers that he was a little thief. After that, she rented a small courtyard in Qinglin Lane and settled down, probably planning to wait there for the general to return. I knew about that bracelet on Yang Wanfu's wrist. 3 years ago, Wei Xun gave me an identical one, which is to say, at least 3 years ago, my position in Wei Xun's heart was already no more important than Yang Wanfu's. When I drove Yang Wanfu away, I deliberately didn't let the maids take off her bracelet, first giving someone hope, then tearing that hope to shreds, is the cruelest thing of all. I chuckled and said, "Send people to keep an eye on her. If there is no unusual activity, just leave her be." On the day Wei Xun went off to war, Wei Wenji woke up, but his face was covered in a dense red rash, making it inconvenient for him to see people. The next day, I took Wei Wenji to live at Fengshan Villa. The scenery there is pleasant and suitable for recuperating. Everyone outside said I was a good mother, that in my treatment of Wei Wenji, though he wasn't my biological son, it surpassed that of a biological one. No one knew that I had selected a group of intelligent, well-mannered little boys of a similar age from various orphanages to be raised at Fengshan Villa. I secretly hired civil and martial masters to teach them. I allow them to call me mother in the future. When they grow up, I will arrange for them to take the imperial examinations or to go work in my businesses. The most outstanding one will get the identity of Wei Wenji and inherit the general's manor. I drove Yang Wanfu out of Hongshan Street. She suspected I knew her and Wei Xun's secret, but hearing that I treated Wei Wenji extremely well, personally accompanying Wei Wenji to Fengshan Courtyard to recuperate, she again felt that I was still being kept in the dark. She spent night after night in anxiety, day after day, longing for Wei Xun to return victorious. Once Wei Xun comes back, everything will be all right. Too bad, Wei Xun won't be coming back. On the 15th of the 7th month, the Zhongyuan festival, the Ghost Gate opened, and the news of Wei Xun's death was sent back to the capital. For the sake of Yang Wanfu, he was extremely brave in every battle, but he ultimately wasn't good at naval warfare, and his strategies were very crude and full of holes. So, after arriving at the southeastern coast, he kept suffering minor defeats. The imperial court had high hopes for him, thinking he was just practicing, and that after a while he'd be able to get a handle on the Woku pirates. However, on the 7th day of the 7th month, he received a letter from the capital, and in the process of fighting the enemy, he became reckless, thinking he was a furious and invincible army, but as a result suffered a major defeat and was even wounded by an arrow and fell into the sea. He could swim, but a small creek and the vast, boundless sea are not the same. By the time he was pulled onto the boat by the soldiers, he was already beyond saving. The letter that Wei Xun received was sent by the army supervisor along with the battle report via 800 Li Express to the capital city. The battle report was sent into the palace, and that letter was delivered into my hands. It was a letter from Yang Wanfu to Wei Xun. In her letter, she said that I had driven her out of Hongshan Street on the day Wei Xun left the capital, and that she was living alone in Qinglin Lane, and that now that she had no protection, the men in the capital were harassing her. The Yang Wanfu in the letter was desperately waiting for Wei Xun to save her. No wonder Wei Xun would suddenly be so reckless. I took the letter and went to Qinglin Alley. In Qinglin Alley, sure enough, there were idle men loitering at Yang Wanfu's door. When they saw me arrive, their malicious gazes fell upon me. But when they saw the attendants behind me, they immediately averted their gazes, bowed and scurried away. I had my attendants kick open Yang Wanfu's courtyard gate, and I stepped inside. Yang Wanfu's face paled in shock, and she looked at me with terror. "Madam Shen, I rented this residence myself." "I know." I smiled at her. "I came to tell you the news of Wei Xun's death." Yang Wanfu shrieked. "What did you say? Who is dead?" I threw the letter in front of Yang Wanfu and said with a beaming smile, "A disloyal man like him should have died long ago, but I have you to thank. If it weren't for this letter of yours, I would have had to find a chance to deal with him myself. Now, it is all good. He is dead. A loyal martyr. And the pension for a loyal martyr will all fall to me, the general's wife." Yang Wanfu, "First you almost killed me and damaged my womb, then you snatched my husband and poisoned me, and now contributing to my support for the rest of my life is what you ought to do." Yang Wanfu clutched that letter and slumped to the ground. Her voice trembled. You knew all along. When did you find out?" "The day before Wei Wenji fell ill, I suppose." I answered her truthfully. Her beautiful face was completely drained of color. Yang Wanfu finally understood that her and Wei Xun's crude scheming was like a joke in my eyes, and they had lost completely. She suddenly started crying and laughing, her expression turning crazed. Both she and I knew in our hearts that she was completely without hope. So what? She gritted her teeth, glaring at me with hateful eyes. Do you think you've won? You can't have children, so in the end, it is all for nothing. So what if I can't have children? Wei Wenji will be the pillar of the Wei Manor. He will win me an imperial title, making me the most honored widow in the Great Yan dynasty. Yang Wanfu's expression immediately turned smug. On what grounds? You killed Ji'er's father. He will only hate you. I laughed and said, Yang Wanfu, did you know? When Wei Xun and I were arguing, Wei Xun said that even though you've done wrong things, your nature is kind. Him saying you are kind in front of me, that means I am not kind enough. I don't understand. How are you kinder than me? That day when you came out of the pawn shop, that little beggar who was sick hugged your leg and called you mommy. The money you got from trading your bracelet was just enough to cure his illness. But you smashed his head with a rock and told the patrolling officers he was a little thief. Such a small child, thrown into jail by the officers, became a corpse that very night. Yang Wanfu, you tell me, if that little beggar had a mother, would she be heartbroken? Yang Wanfu's expression froze. She instantly went crazy, lunging forward, grabbing the hem of my skirt, and speaking incoherently. It is not. You tell me it is not. Ji'er, it is not. I saw his face. It was all festered. He was just an unwanted little beggar. He can't be Ji'er. I said nothing, just smiled and looked at her. Yang Wanfu broke down and screamed. At this moment, the bone-gouging, marrow-scraping pain I felt when I learned the truth was finally released. Coming out of Qinglin Alley, the setting sun shone on me. I looked down at my hands. They were perfectly clean. I didn't die back then, and I won't take Yang Wanfu's life now either. She lost all her support for her. Living was more painful than death. Without Wei Xun's protection, with no money on hand, and her reputation ruined, she would rot and stink away in this Qinglin Alley. Wei Xun, from the moment he drugged me with thousand-day joy, he deserved to die. And I, only 27 years old without them, my future was nothing but a brilliant and smooth path. 2 months later, Wei Xun's corpse was returned to the capital. The weather was hot. He was already rotten beyond recognition. I had someone send it to Qinglin Alley. The moment Yang Wanfu saw the body, she was so disgusted she threw up. After this, Yang Wanfu started receiving clients in Qinglin Alley. She truly became a prostitute. I don't know if she did it to escape her impoverished life, or to curry favor with the powerful to get revenge on me. But a place like Qinglin Alley, besides me, would not be frequented by any powerful people. She was too stupid. If it was for revenge, doing this would only trap her at the bottom forever. I had people keep an eye on her, sure enough. After a mere 2 months, she was targeted by local ruffians and gangsters, and became a tool for them to make money. A year later, a female corpse appeared in the city moat. My youthful affections, at this moment, were brought to a thoroughly ugly end.